Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is 16 after 8 o'clock. And of course, that is South African time. We're crossing over now. I'm not exactly sure where he is currently, but he will tell us where he's talking to us from. Thiago Ávila, Global Sumud Flotilla Steering Committee. And of course, that is the biggest global story this morning. In fact, the story broke yesterday, and we're continuing with this breaking story. And this is, of course, about civilians being kidnapped at sea. Israel seizes humanitarian ship Handala in international waters, and they've raided the Global Sumud Flotilla Steering Committee. Thiago Ávila, who was a part of that committee, is standing by to talk with us, and he looks absolutely exhausted. We hope and pray, inshallah, that he hasn't been hurt in that ordeal, him and the other people on the flotilla. Assalamu alaikum to you, Thiago Ávila. Welcome to the program. Wonderful to be chatting with you this morning. Okay, it looks like we've lost that connection. The picture has frozen. Let us reconnect again. Just give us a minute, please. I guess it's the networks yet again. Whilst Puti is in fact trying to reconnect us, I do want to remind you about all of the other big stories we're going to cover this morning. That, of course, will be with Dr. Vusi Sibanda, African Diaspora Global Network President. And the big question there is, has Zimbabwe just abandoned all its 6 citizens in South Africa? And of course, there is another perspective to that story as well. It could be argued that the South African citizens are pushing back and are saying that they can't be funding the health insurance or health facilities or health aid for the Zimbabweans. But that will be our next story. Right now, we connect up once again with Thiago Ávila. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program. I think we're being sabotaged here because every time I just see the connection fixing itself, or we fixing it on our side, there seems to be a break, and I just can't seem to connect with Thiago Ávila. He is, of course, with the Global Sumud Flotilla Steering Committee, and we are desperately wanting to talk about the civilians that were kidnapped at sea on the humanitarian flotilla, and that was on the ship, the humanitarian ship Handala. This was, of course, in international waters, and if you were following the story on Salam Media, Ponte Israel Malatsani, our COO, did some great work there, keeping us abreast live regarding the journey of the flotilla. And we also know that Shabnan Mohammed Palesa was also interviewing a few people as this story was playing out and was being carried live right here on Salam Media. And then sadly, the genocidal Israeli IDF then surrounded the Handala, boarded the ship, and I am guessing that all of the people on the ship were in fact arrested. And just to give you a bit of an overview of the people, the caliber of the people that were on the ship, the Handala carried 21 civilians representing 12 countries, including parliamentarians, lawyers, journalists, labor organizers, environmentalists, and other human rights defenders. And I see that we seem to have Thiago back online. Thiago, are you there? Third time lucky. Welcome to the show. So nice to be talking with you. It seems like it's third time not so lucky after all. Let me continue sharing information with you. And as I've indicated, that the crew included human rights defenders, and by country, United States, France, Italy, Spain, Australia, Norway, United Kingdom and France, Tunisia, and of course, not forgetting Morocco, Iraq, and the United States. But let's just check in once again if we have a connection with Thiago. I think instead of trying to get him online, let's see if we can get him by telephone. So whilst we're doing that, let's take another ad break so that we can have enough time to be talking with him, and he can share his experience with us right here on Salam Media this morning on News and Views.
Boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda. Rejuvenating media day by day.
South Africa is a water scarce country. We don't get a lot of rain, even though we get some of these flash floods these days. And that's a big problem. You know, if you think about how the biggest cities and things of the world are built, they're built on main water resources. And in South Africa, if you look at Joburg as an example, the Vaal River is not necessarily a natural water resource. So it's a very finite resource that we need to look after. But the biggest problem is the contamination of this water, and specifically because of our wastewater treatment works, so that it doesn't have an ecological negative consequence. The problem is that our municipalities have neglected our wastewater treatment works significantly over the last decade, so much so that probably about 70% of our wastewater treatment works in the country are completely dysfunctional, discharging raw sewage into our dams and rivers.
Julius Kleinhans, the Executive Manager for Social Innovation at WaterCan.
This is Salam Media.
What we need from the mediators, especially the United States, to act not as a partners for Israelis, but as a real mediators, and to work in order to implement the international law, which gave the Palestinian people the right to have their rights or to resist to have their rights. The third point, at least as a mediators, they have to do their job in implementing the agreements which took place. What's the use of being a mediator without having the force to implement what was agreed on? When we talk about the negotiations and the mediators, we don't need from the mediators to announce a war against Israel. We are not asking them to do like the nations who have supported the Palestinian cause, although we believe this is the right thing to be done. But at least we want them to act as mediators. The United States is not acting as a mediator, they are acting as a partners for the Israelis. In fact, they were partners in the genocide in Gaza. They were partners, they supported the Israelis with weapons, they supported the Israelis in a political level, they financed the war against the Palestinians, and now they are talking about being mediators and talking to the Palestinians to be practical.
Senior Hamas official Osama Hamdan.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity.
I only know what it means to be on the opposite side of the civilians, to be under those civilians who have been bombed by the Shah. For many years, I can't remember a single week really that has gone by where we haven't heard news of someone dying, where we haven't heard news of someone injured. And alhamdulillah, to be honest, for a lot of people, this is just finally a sigh of relief, knowing that inshallah going forward, there's that heavy thought off our backs tomorrow, wondering if we go out, whether we're going to come back. Literally every time I've left my home, if I know I'm going, especially to the city, because the Idlib city gets bombed the worst, I'm in the countryside, so if I know I'm going to the city, I would message someone before I leave, telling them, look, if I'm not back tonight, please, this is where I plan to go, that is where I plan to go, because we know anything could happen, especially in the city. So this is what people have been living with in those areas which he doesn't have control over when they don't agree with him. So we can't imagine what people have been going through in those areas where he has actually had access to.
Masia Saluji, she's a South African who has been living in Syria.
Salam Media, a global voice for humanity. Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media.
لا تقل لي وحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back, and we do apologize, but it seems like we're unable to get a stable connection with Thiago. But there he is. Assalamu alaikum, welcome. Okay, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Thiago. We're not winning this morning is all I can say, and I'm really sad that we're having all of these problems trying to connect up with you. I have a perfect picture of you.
Can you hear me now?
Hundreds, welcome. Right, I'm going to hand over.
So much,
I'm going to hand over directly to you, and please just paint a picture for us exactly what happened when you were attacked by the genocidal IDF forces.
Yes, thank you so much, Julie. We're talking about two Freedom Flotilla missions, the Medellin and the Handala, that went in a difference from less than 2 months, one from the other, and they had a similar outcome. The Medellin, we were 12 people going on a 7-day journey, and we were intercepted 100 nautical miles from Gaza. After the interception, they took us on a 20-hour journey to Ashdod port. Then from Ashdod port, they took us to an immigration office. From the immigration office, 4 of our participants, they signed a deportation acknowledgement, and they left home to tell the story. And the other 8, they went to Givon prison, where they stayed for 4 days until they were deported. But 3 of them, the flight was delayed because Israel attacked Iran, so they left 5 days later through the Jordan border, through land. And the Handala mission that was intercepted two nights ago was intercepted with 21 people, and out of the 21 people, 2 of them are already free, and 5 of them have their scheduled flights for today. So we have 14 of our participants on this last Handala mission, still in Givon prison, still waiting for a court hearing, and still waiting for the outcome that most likely will come through a deportation in a few days. So we are really exposing this violence because this is a violation of international law. It's a humanitarian, non-violent mission that was attempted to break the siege of Gaza that has been lasting for 18 years, an illegal siege created by Israel that creates starvation, famine, and that right now is part of a war crime of an ongoing genocide of 8 decades, but on the last 21 months has been part of one of the most horrific violations of human rights that we've ever seen in history. So it's very important that we expose that. Those missions, they exist, Julie, not because of the people who are on the boat. They exist at the service of the Palestinian community. Even when we get arrested, we go through a hard time. Yes, we do. I spent 2 days in solitary confinement, but it's nothing compared to what 10,000 Palestinians are facing in Israeli dungeons. 400 of them are children. And even the situation of hunger strike, that I made a hunger strike when I was in jail. All of our 14 participants, they're in a hunger strike right now in Givon. But it is nothing compared to what 2 million Palestinians are facing in Gaza. So it's very important that we share this information, that the Freedom Flotilla Coalition has a mission that right now is being intercepted and kidnapped illegally by the Zionist entity of Israel, and that we demand the immediate release of all of them, and we demand accountability for Israel that just committed another war crime. Thank you.
As I'm speaking with you, I've seen a couple of messages on Facebook popping up as well. And what I do want to say is I had made a comment earlier on that this is world news. It's a breaking story. It has been over the weekend. And of course, we do know that there are certain media houses I should imagine right-wing supremacist media houses that will not carry the story, or will carry a very sanitized version of the story in favor of the genocidal IDF and Netanyahu and all of his cronies. The people carrying the stories globally are people with a conscience, people who understand what humanitarianism is all about, and we obviously fall under that category. Please God, let it always be so. Let us always be humanitarians. That being said, when you were on the Madeleine, you were on that ship as well. We've got footage of when you were captured, and the current footage that's playing out right now is obviously footage on the Handala. But when you guys were attacked by the genocidal IDF soldiers, all of your phones were taken away and thrown into the water. Was there a similar situation this time around? And was anybody hurt? Was there any skirmishes or anything that happened when they boarded the Handala?
It's very important that we talk about this, Julie, because they on these two interventions, the Freedom Flotilla coalition exists for 17 years, and the Handala is boat number 37 that attempts to break the siege. Only the first 5 missions managed to get to Gaza in 2008. So all the other missions of 17 years were intercepted. And all of the interceptions that happened, actually, there were 2 moments that the missions were attacked. 15 years ago on the Mavi Marmara, where they killed 10 of our participants, and 3 months ago when they bombed our boat, the Conscience, on the coast of Malta, between Malta and Italy. But all the others, they were intercepted. And the interception happened with a lot of violence, a lot of refusal for people to access water, food, to go to the toilet, and everything else. But now these missions have grown in visibility so much that the Zionist entity, they're trying a different approach. They still commit the war crime of hindering aid to accomplish the genocide and use starvation as a weapon of war. They are still violating International Court of Justice provisional rulings that prohibits them to stop any humanitarian aid mission to Gaza. And they're still violating the law of the seas because it's in international waters, not their jurisdiction to do anything. But they are doing that without their characteristic violence that they use. So they are actually trying to be filmed, like offering water and food and stuff to try to confuse people that this is not a violation that is happening. But it is a kidnapping, it is a violation of international law. But none of these times we have anyone wounded, which is good, because it would be an even bigger violation if they wounded any of our non-violent participants. But doesn't change the fact that it is a violence nonetheless. And concerning the phones, unfortunately, we are dealing with a terrorist state that has one of the most horrific terrorist intelligence agents in the world, which is Mossad. So whenever they are about to board a boat of ours, we always have the agreement that we throw all of our cell phones in the ocean, because they always steal the phones anyway. So if they are going to steal the phones, we don't want them to steal the data, to do harm to our solidarity movements worldwide, to do harm to our families, to try to use information and confuse people. So we have nothing to hide. We're a very transparent organization and a civil society movement, but we don't want to give weapons and information to a terrorist agent like Mossad and a terrorist entity like the State of Israel. So that's why we throw ourselves the phones in the ocean, and just like we did on the Handala again. Thank you.
Okay, so currently, as I'm speaking with you, everybody that was on the Handala, are they back home? Where would that be? Back to their home countries? Or are there still a few of them in Israel? What is the story? Where are you currently?
I'm here in London right now, and we are about to talk about a next initiative, a next boat mission. But everyone on the Handala, the 21 people, Two have already been released. The ones that had the nationality of the Zionist entity. So they were Palestinians from 48, from the territories occupied in 48. The Zionist entity, they call them Israeli Arabs to deny them the identity as Palestinians. But they have Israeli passports. So they were released pretty much immediately. They were just taken to the police station and they are already released. There are 5 other members, the 2 the journalists that were on board, and other 3 people that signed the deportation acknowledge documents that they understood that they were being deported. They didn't admit that they committed any crime because at first they tried to convince you to sign a document, Julie, that says that we attempted to enter Israel illegally. And this is not true at all. People were trying to get to Gaza and they were illegally intercepted and taken against their will into Israel. So people signed the acknowledgement of deportation. They did not admit to try to enter Israel. And they went before the others to tell the story. So these first 5 people, they are going to share to the world what actually happened, what were the procedures when they were taken to the immigration facility, and everything else. So they're about to get to their home countries. Some of the flights are about to leave, and we're going to hear from this story soon. And 14 of the participants, they are still in Givon prison. They are still most likely facing a few days before deportation.
Do we know why the other people are still being held there? Any particular reason?
It isn't an illegal arrest, but they say that anyone that does not first at port does not admit that tried to enter Israel illegally, and no one admitted that. And second of all, that at the immigration office does not acknowledge and sign up for a voluntary deportation. Anyone who does not accept that goes to Givon prison. So this is the standard procedure, except for the people that decided to sign as a collective decision to go first and tell the story. So everyone is going through, every person that does not admit to a crime they didn't commit goes through in a situation of a flotilla trying to break the illegal siege. So the 14, most likely they're going to face up to 96 hours of detention, illegal detention at Givon prison. And after that, they're going to be sent to their home countries.
Okay, and you indicated that you are now working on your next mission. Can you share anything with us, or for now, is it top secret?
No, I'm actually very glad to share, Julie. We've seen despite all of our best efforts, the missions that we send one boat after the other, they are being systematically intercepted by the Zionist entity. So I know that when someone saw us on the Madeleine being intercepted, and as we seen 2 nights ago, the Handala being intercepted, it's in everyone's minds that we should take more boats. We should escalate this somehow. And that's what we are trying to do. So today, we are presenting a new initiative as a steering committee member of this new initiative called the Global Sumud Flotilla. We are launching a new mission that will have several boats that will leave port during this summer, this sailing season, and that will take people from dozens of nationalities. We take a lot of journalists, a lot of medical workers, a lot of prominent people that brings their platforms all together, a lot of organizers from demonstrations in the streets, from the grassroots works in every country to do a new mission. And right now to manage to break the siege, because imagine that the Madeleine went all the way up to 100 nautical miles to Gaza. The Handala went to around 45 nautical miles to Gaza. And right now with many, many boats, we are really confident that we'll finally break the siege and we'll be able to create this humanitarian corridor that has a chance of ending this man-made famine, this engineered starvation that is taking so many lives in Gaza. That's our top priority right now. So we are calling this initiative the Global Sumud Flotilla, because it's a flotilla that brings a lot of familiar faces, people who organized and coordinated missions like the Medellin, for example, and many of the last missions in the last years, but also brings the initiatives of the Sumud convoy that went from the Maghreb trying to get to Gaza, and the global march to Gaza. And this brings dozens of organized countries, of grassroots delegation, of social strength that will do demonstrations in the countries. And this is going to be something very important for a step up in the solidarity movement, a step up in organization as well, because we need that. And I'm very excited to say that despite all the destruction and all the violations that we've seen, the people of the world will not fail Palestine. We know that the governments are failing Palestine, and despite the good actions of some governments, the majority of the international community is not being able to stop this horrific situation. But the people of the world are willing to do more, because in the hearts and minds of a planet of 8 billion people, the majority of these people know that starving children to death is wrong. The bombing hospitals, shelters, schools is just wrong, and we cannot accept that. And the people are willing to do something about it. And so I'm very glad and proud to be talking about this initiative. We actually have to get moving because we have a mobilization pretty much in a few minutes to talk about that.
No worries. I've got my second guest standing by in any event, but it was wonderful talking with you. Please continue doing what you're doing together with everybody else that's involved in this amazing humanitarian work. And just someone on Facebook saying justice for the LPA, please don't share too much. You never know what the terrorists, and we know who the terrorists are, the genocidal Zionists. We don't want to give them too much information because they're working on already sabotaging the mission, but God be with one and all. Thank you. I'm so pleased to see that you're safe, and so are the rest of the people, but we continue our struggle and our fight for the emancipation of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Go well till the next time. As always, God bless.
Thank you so much, Julie. Have a good day. Have a good day, everyone in Salam Media.
It is exactly 8:42 News and Views moving along, and that interview, of course, generated lots and lots of interest, and we're getting lots of comments on Facebook. Alhamdulillah, we're moving along now because we've got a couple of guests also standing by, and we can't wait to get talking to them as well. It is 8:43. Let's go for a quick break, and then we will be joined by Dr. Vusi Sibanda.